Sunday, guys. I just want to go ahead and apologize that my bed is not made. My dog Valley was not having that. She would not get off. I would pick her up and put her on the floor and she would jump right back up. So I'm sorry for the messy bed, but I guess today is her relaxing day. So we're just gonna go ahead and get started with our lesson instead. So last week we started the series called Just a Kid, and we talked about how you are not just a kid. Last week we talked about how a kid can have faith, and we talked about that through the story of David and Goliath. And then we talked about how a kid can protect, and we talked about how Miriam protected her brother Moses. So this week we're going to talk about how a kid can lead and a kid can give. But first off, we are going to go over our memory verse for this series, which is 1 Timothy chapter 4, verse 12. All right. Don't let anyone look down on you because you are young, but set an example for the believers in speech and conduct and love and faith and in purity. All right. So the first story we're going to read about today, we're going to talk about how a kid can lead, and we are reading about how King Josiah renews the covenant. All right, so let me get to that. All right, we are reading in 2 Kings chapter 22, verses 1 through 2, and then chapter 23, verses 1 through 5. All right. Josiah was 8 years old when he became king, and he reigned in Jerusalem 31 years. His mother's name was Jedidiah, daughter of, Adiah. There we go. It split the word up in the book, so I don't know. Anyways, his mother's name was Jedidiah, daughter of Adiah. She was from Bozkath. He did what was right in the eyes of the Lord and followed completely the ways of his father David, not turning aside to the right or to the left. Then the king called together all the elders of Judah and Jerusalem. He went up to the temple of the Lord with the people of Judah, the inhabitants of Jerusalem, the priests and the prophets, all the people from the least to the greatest. He read in their hearings all the words of the book of the covenant, which had been found in the temple of the Lord. The king stood by the pillar and renewed the covenant in the presence of the Lord, to follow the Lord and keep his commands, statutes and decrees with all his heart and all his soul, thus confirming the words of the covenant written in this book. Then all the people pledged themselves to the covenant. The king ordered Hilkiah the high priest, the priest next in rank, and the doorkeepers to remove from the temple of the Lord all the articles made for Baal and Asherah and all the starry hosts. He burned them outside Jerusalem in the fields of Kidron Valley and took the ashes to Bethel. He did away with the idolatrous, why can I not say that? Idolatrous priests appointed by the kings of Judah to burn incense on the high places of the towns of Judah and on those around Jerusalem. Those who burn incense to Baal, to the sun and moon, to the constellations, and to all the starry hosts. Okay. So let's go back, and I want to look at Josiah's age again. Josiah was 8 years old when he became king. He was the same age as some of you guys. Could you imagine being king at 8 years old? That's just insane. And King Josiah, renews the covenant at 8 years old. That is just absolutely insane to me. So that just shows you guys that you can lead. You can be a leader even though you are a kid. If you are 6 years old or 12 years old, you can still lead. King Josiah led at 8 years old. So the next thing we are going to read about is how a kid can give. And that is in John 6, 1 through 13. So let me get there. All right. So in this, we are reading about how a boy helps Jesus feed the people. Sometime after this, Jesus crossed to the far shore of the Sea of Galilee, that is, the Sea of Tiberias. And a great crowd of people followed him because they saw the signs he had performed by healing the sick. Then Jesus went up on a mountainside and sat down with his disciples. The Jewish Passover festival was near. When Jesus looked up and saw a great crowd coming toward him, he said to Philip, "Where shall we buy bread for these people to eat?" He asked this only to test him, for he already had in mind what he was going to do. Philip answered him, "It would take more than half a year's wages to buy enough bread for each one to have a bite." Another of his disciples, Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, spoke up. "Here is a boy with 5 small barley loaves and 2 small fish. But how far will they go among so many?" Jesus said, "Have the people sit down." There was plenty of grass in that place, and they sat down. About 5,000 men were there. Jesus then took the loaves, gave thanks, and distributed to those who were seated as much as they wanted. He did the same with the fish. When they had all had enough to eat, he said to his disciples, "Gather the pieces that are left over. Let nothing be wasted." So they gathered them and filled 12 baskets with the pieces of the 5 barley loaves left over by those who had eaten. So, let's go back to, where did I see that at? Sorry. So all of these people were telling Jesus, like Philip said, it would take more than half a year's wages to buy enough bread for each one to have even a bite. And these are adults talking to Jesus. And then Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, said, "Here is a boy with 5 small barley loaves and 2 small fish. But how far will they go among so many?" And Jesus took these loaves from this little boy and said thanks. And he made it go. He made it spread amongst all of the people there. All of them had enough to eat. And it was because the little boy, just like some of you guys, some of y'all are girls, some of y'all are little boys, came up with 5 barley loaves and 2 small fish. So that was to talk about how a kid can give. So even though y'all are small, y'all are children, even if you have a small amount to give, you can still give. Anything you give is still powerful. Look at what Jesus just did with those 5 barley loaves and 2 fish. He fed, what was it, like over 5,000 men? I don't even know. I think that was how many. I'm so bad with numbers. Let me go back real quick. I'm pretty sure it was 5,000. Okay. About 5,000 men were there. Yes. So he took the 5 barley loaves and the 2 small fish from the little boy and fed about 5,000 men with just that, because the little boy was willing to give it to Jesus. So that is just amazing and a great reminder that no matter how small you are, no matter how small of an amount you have, you can still give. Okay, so that is all I have for today. Let me go back to the memory verse one more time. Once again, it is 1 Timothy chapter 4, verse 12. All right. "Don't let anyone look down on you because you are young, but set an example for the believers in speech and conduct and love and faith and in purity." Sorry, she just jumped off the bed and sneezed. But at least now I can make the bed. So, all right, that is all for today. I hope you guys have a beautiful, beautiful Sunday. I opened my windows and it is just beautiful outside. So definitely get outside, play, have fun with your family, and I will see you on Wednesday. Bye.